have some news to cover. Microsoft just dropped its earnings. The Fed is meeting over the next 2 days, and there's been some pretty crazy market sell off this last couple weeks. And these are things I want to cover quickly. So let's start with Microsoft. Now, Microsoft is one that you can pretty much guarantee they're going to beat or at least meet earning expectations every time. They're such a high quality company. And so if we look at their earnings that they just released, we will see that their revenue came in and beat expectations. It came in at 51.7 billion versus 50.9 billion. Their earnings per share was a beat at 248 versus the 231. Their intelligent cloud portion came in as expected at 18.3 billion, as well as their productivity and business processes at 15.9 billion. They did beat on the more personal computing level, coming in at $17.4 billion. What I want to say about Microsoft, guys, I always stress that it's good to buy into quality companies. Look at their past earnings, look at their cash flow, look at, acquisitions they're making. They're trying to acquire Activision, a huge gaming company that's going to put them in the position to be one of the top 3 gaming companies in the world. This will give them a platform to be able to compete with Tencent and Sony, which are foreign companies. This will put America back in that play. This is something that I love to see with one of the companies that I own. And Microsoft is one of my biggest holdings in my portfolio. And it makes up, I think it's about 12% of my portfolio. But that's because it's such a good company. They're also getting into the metaverse. They're rolling it out as we speak with Teams. They're allowing companies to buy their goggles, or they can even use Facebook goggles because they're integrating with Facebook. They made a partnership with Facebook. This is a company, guys, that is making moves and it never stops, and it's just a good quality company. And so I had very little doubt that Microsoft was, going to do this or was not going to, miss earnings. I knew they were going to at least meet or beat because that's just Microsoft. They're a very well-run company by Nadella, and they just have that quality that you look for. And so, that leads me to there's been a lot of sell-off in the market. Now is not the time to panic, nor was it last week or the week before. A lot of people just have this panic button, right? They let their emotions get involved and they see a little bit of a dip and they freak out and they sell. I can't tell you how many friends of mine have messaged me saying, should I sell out of this stock or that stock or all my stocks? And they already know what I'm going to say. They just need that kind of confirmation, right? And so when you let your emotions get involved or your short-sightedness, you're going to lose out on the market because you can never time the market. And I like to use the example of a friend that sold out in March of 2020 when the market was at its lowest because he was certain it was going to go down another 50%. But all it did was go up from there, and he had to buy in at much higher prices in June of 2020. So the message here, the lesson is if you are buying into good quality companies and you have a diverse portfolio, you should not sell unless if the fundamentals of the company that you invest in change where it's no longer something you want to be a part of. Now, there's always good reasons to sell. If you're too concentrated, the fundamentals change, things like that. But for the majority of it, you should just buy and hold and just, watch year over year your stock portfolio go up because if you're in quality and diversified, you're going to do well. And too many people out there get emotional, short-sighted, they panic and then they sell. And then what happens? Someone like Microsoft comes along, says, hey, you know what? We're still sturdy. This economy's still growing. And boom, I guarantee you, whether we have dips or growth in the near future, the long term, we're going to be fine because that's how it always has been with the whole history of the stock market. And, yes, I'm a little bit, wound up today because it kills me to see people miss out on good earnings with their hard earned money, right? You always want to make your money work for you, not you work for your money. And the good way to work for your money is to keep losing out on good gains. And so you guys, being that, you guys are my followers and subscribers, just, when those times get, when you see those red days, first of all, I get excited when I see those red days, but I know some people freak out. What you need to do is just take a few steps back, just breathe and realize you're in this for the long term. And the little blip that you see, within a month, a week, or even a year of kind of a downtrend in the market, in the long term, it's just a blip. You barely will even recognize it on a chart. I mean, we can look at the chart here, and you can see if we go all the way, they're just that. They're little blimps and they go back up and you start making money. But if you try to time the market, it's gonna work out in not your favor because very few people can do that. I actually am kind of debating somebody right now on YouTube. They're saying that, market timers are the way to do it, that they can go in there, they can predict the lows and sell and, sell in the highs and buy back in the lows. And to me, that's just somebody either crazy talking or trying to push my buttons. But really, you look at it, nobody can time the market. Many have tried. Even the big famous investors have tried, and they predict, market crash after market crash, and it never happens. But then if one happens, then they're all of a sudden like, I know it all, right? But the last nine you couldn't predict, but this one you did. So just really try to stay grounded, invest in your quality companies that you've done your research on. And if you look at a company like Microsoft that just reported great earnings like this and has a great future with Activision, with their cloud, Azure, with their, metaverse, this company isn't standing still. So why would I even want to sell out of a company like that? So I think a lot of people just get short-sighted, right? When they hear that bad news, their vision goes like this, and then they do something they wish they didn't. But if you just were to open that back up and breathe, you would see these things, these big things that Microsoft is doing, the quality company that it is, the cash flow that it has. So that's just kind of my rant. Also, the Fed is meeting over today and tomorrow. Of course, they're expected to start raising rates in March, which is partially why the market is acting crazy. But I suspect that they'll hold to that. We'll see what they say at the end of their review tomorrow. But just be prepared that they might say we're going to stick to this and start raising rates little by little. They will be small amounts, but just know that this inflation has to get controlled. These supply chains have to get controlled, and the Fed is, they have to start raising rates. It's really one of the only ways to help that. They could choose to prolong it, right? Because there are some issues in the economy, but I think it's good to start raising them little by little because prices are going insane. You see it at the gas pump, you see it in the grocery store. So it's just something that I think they have to act on. So don't look at it as a negative, look at it as something that should positively affect the market long term to bring things back to kind of a norm, a regular, trend with inflation. Um, and so, yeah, so my message today is not to panic. Look at Microsoft's earning. Yes, we had a Netflix kind of event last week where they missed, but if you look at Netflix, they are a company that was extremely highly valued. And so any little blimp is going to cause them to crash. That is not the same for Microsoft. Microsoft is high, it's valued highly, but it's not at the level that Netflix was, nor is it in, my Netflix kind of has to me a smaller moat, right? They're all about the streaming entertainment, where Microsoft has all these different, things going for it, all these different avenues of growth and paths, where Netflix is very dependent on its subscribers to its platform and watching its shows and everything like that. So, though I like Netflix and I've mentioned that in the past, they're not a Microsoft. They're not somebody that has, you know, a lot of different avenues of growth. They're not somebody that has, as many users as Microsoft has. There's just a lot that Microsoft as a quality company has. Netflix just started becoming cash positive. It might go cash negative in the near future, actually, again. So there's just a lot when you compare the two. But to me, I think it was an overreaction with Netflix. So if you're buying in now, I think it's a good buying point, anything below that 400. But be prepared if they have another quarter of two of slow growth in their subscribers, Netflix might stay pretty low for a while until they can get out of that bubble, which I think they will eventually, but it might take longer because there's a lot more competition now. And, people are, the pandemic is ending. The Fed actually just announced they're dropping the whole vaccine mandate for businesses. They just announced that just now. So that says a lot too. People are going to be getting out there and vacationing and going shopping. Um, My last video I revealed I got sick, but I'm doing much better. So it's a very mild for most sickness because most people that I know, it's been very mild. So I think, a lot of the experiential companies like Vici will eventually start turning around where Netflix might see some struggle because people aren't going to be cooped up, now. They're going to start getting out there, especially as the weather warms up. This pent up experiential demand, people want to get out there and do things. So Netflix is in a different boat for sure. But again, don't panic. It's so easy to get wrapped up in a negative article or someone screaming there's going to crash 50%, 60%. Nobody can predict that. And if you're in good quality companies, you're good. So just breathe, keep the long-term goal in mind. If there are some dips, you should get excited. You should add some more to your shares. And so that's what I plan on doing. I did buy some Facebook yesterday when it hit below 300, and I get my paycheck this Friday. So hopefully Microsoft, I expect it will probably go up, but you never know. This market is irrational, so maybe it stays below 300 and I can get some Microsoft as well this Friday when I get paid. So let me know your thoughts on all this news. I appreciate you guys. Please subscribe to my channel. I provide quality content. I try to do the best I can, and it gives you a different viewpoint and opinion and just knowledge set. And it's always good to have, right? So my channel will provide that, so I appreciate it if you subscribe. I hope you guys have a great day, and we'll see you next time on Mark's Finance and Fitness.